Next week, I'm facing one of the biggest challenges any watch collector can ever face, and that is deciding what watches to take with you on vacation. Seriously though, it sounds stupid, but the struggle is real, and after hearing from a number of you, I know I'm not alone in this. However, this time's going to be easier, because I realized I already have a formula or a template to build an ideal travel collection. You see, in planning for this upcoming trip, I started looking back at all the watches I've traveled with over the last few years, basically since the world opened back up. And I realized that almost all of them can be divided up into three basic types of watches, or three categories. And having one of each of these watches creates a small but very versatile set. One that covers all the bases, and I'm ready for just about any situation with it. In fact, depending on the trip, I could probably even get away with just two of them. And I think a good travel watch is something that's both comfortable and versatile. Something you can easily wear all day and looks great in a variety of situations. That and just thin enough so you can wear it with anything, any time of year. So I thought it'd be good to share what I'm doing here and hope that it helps all of you. Now, my go-to choices in each of these categories is going to be a little unusual. And of course, I occasionally would shake things up depending on where I'm heading. But I think you could still use this as a basic template and then just fill it in with your favorites. So let's go over each of these categories and I'll tell you what my go-to watches are, as well as offer some alternatives. First up, we have the most predictable travel watch out there, and that's going to be a GMT diver. Because a GMT is always great to travel with, and a diver's a diver. It's a watch that combines a good-looking casual design with fairly rugged capabilities, making it the cornerstone of any modern collection. Even if you don't dive, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the diver is really the SUV of the watch world. It's the most popular watch out there for a reason. For me, my go-to watch in this category is going to be the new Jack Mason Strat-o-Timer, and this is for a couple of reasons. I actually just got this production unit in a few weeks ago, but last year I did take a prototype with me on a trip to Arizona, and it was a perfect choice. It's a great looking true GMT, and that's always a plus. But more importantly, it's extremely comfortable, with its mini turtleish kind of case, as well as its great bracelet with an on-the-fly adjustable clasp. Plus, the quick release end links just add to the versatility. Bring a few extra straps with you, and you got a whole new watch. That, and when it really comes down to it, I also love the fact that while I'm wearing this, I'm partly representing Texas. That said, any GMT would work here, as long as it has fairly rugged capabilities. And it doesn't even have to be a true or a traveler's GMT. And with the new Seiko NH34 movement out there, there's now an explosion of affordable GMTs. So just pick your favorite. Along those lines, my second choice would be the RZE Ascentus. I took this with me on a couple of trips last year, one to Orlando and one to the Redneck Riviera. Again, it's another perfect travel watch. The lightweight titanium makes it a breeze to wear, plus it is easier to get through security with titanium. As well as the scratch-resistant coating on it makes it one you never have to worry about. And I think it's also worth pointing out that if you're traveling and you're not even leaving your time zone, you could skip the whole GMT thing and just go with a good straight diver. So, once again, just pick your favorite and roll with it. For me, it wound up being a toss-up between my Glacier Seiko or my new Oris. However, if I'm concerned about having too nice a watch with me, I might just pick one of my Orients. And bonus points here if it's a more elegant looking diver. But the key thing to remember here is to have something more casual, as the next watch covers the more dressy situations. And this is what I like to call the Explorer category, even though I don't actually have an Explorer. It just happens to be the most well-known of this type of watch, but basically I'm talking about an elegant field watch, or a more dressy field watch. Something that's gonna look good casually, but also wouldn't look out of place at a nice dinner or potentially a suit. And the reason I go this route and just don't bring a dress watch with me is that I want something I can wear all the time, if I so choose. Unless I'm traveling for a formal occasion, it seems kind of silly to bring a dress watch I'm going to wear maybe once or twice during a trip. Something I might wear only at dinner. Now, for the longest time, my go-to watch here would be my Champagne Hamilton Khaki King. Yes, 50 meters of water resistance does suck, and it really should be higher. But take this watch, put it on a good leather strap, and it's a solid winner. I love the easy to read dial, combined with the unusual day date and the eye-catching champagne color. It's a perfect travel watch, which is why I took it with me so many different places. And for a while, they were actually reasonably priced as well. However, these days, I'm actually gravitating more towards my Monta Triumph. Partly because it's new to me, but the Triumph is also a gorgeous looking, easy to read watch that can straddle the line between dressy and casual. And I like the fact that it's a little bit more robust and better made than the Hamilton. Plus, and this may sound a little weird, but unless you're a watch geek, you're not going to know anything about this thing, or more importantly, how much it costs. So the Triumph is potentially a more low-key option than an actual Explorer, just in case you happen to be concerned about unwanted attention. Now, other options in this category would be something like an Alpinist, which has always been the main competitor against the Khaki King, or even just a good sports watch, say like the Silver Dial Dress KXs. Take that, put it on a great strap, and you're good. Or if you want to go the JDM route, how about a Casio Oceanus? And bonus points for this Oceanus for also being a world timer. Now, while I prefer the more dressy field watch, just because that's kind of my style, the bottom line here is that you want a watch that really straddles the line between dressy and casual. A bit of a hybrid, so just pick your favorite. And lastly, we got the digital beater. You may not need one of these, so you could always leave this one at home, but I do find it very useful to have, as it not only adds a very different style option, but it's also one less watch you have to worry about winding or setting. And if you're doing something more involved, I think it's always better to have it digital. Even if it's something as simple as golf. For golf, I always try not to wear an auto. Plus, having a low-key looking utilitarian option is always good. Last month I went down to Cancun, and this is what I wound up wearing the one day I left the hotel zone. I didn't want to wear anything too flashy. Now for this, there are a lot of options out there from pretty much all of the brands. But I think for a lot of people, this is really just going to be a Casio category, as you could easily go with a Royale, and again, bonus points for having a world time feature. Or just any of the multitude of G-Shocks out there. Again, pick your favorite. However, and this may shock some of you, but my go-to choice is a Garmin Instinct 2, the solar version. And I know some of you are going to look at it and just dismiss it as being a smartwatch, but it's not. It's a fitness watch. It's a GPS running watch. Where I think the key difference is that a fitness watch doesn't really need to be tied to a phone. It can function all on its own. And the only reason it's really using a phone is just to report data back to you. I've had this one for a year now, and some of you may already know this story, but I initially bought it to help me fulfill a bucket list thing. And that was because I always wanted to run one of the Disney marathons. So I bought this just to help motivate me to train for the half marathon. Now I've had a few other GPS watches in the past, so I did know a bit about what I was getting into. But what surprised me with this is just how much I actually liked wearing it when I wasn't training or running. And it's really become my go-to quartz watch. The best way to describe it is that this watch gives me everything I ever wanted out of a G-Shock, that I never actually got out of a G-Shock. It's tough, it's rugged, with a standard lug width I might add. It's also easy to read with an amazing negative display, one you can read at almost any angle. It's still a little on the larger side, but it's not overbearing like some G-Shocks can be. This is a watch I can and have worn all day. Plus, it's actually great to travel with. I've taken it with me everywhere over this last year, partially to remind myself to go for a run, but also just because it's convenient. Because of the Bluetooth connection on my phone, it's always accurate. Last January, the night before I ran the marathon, I had a checklist of things I needed to do, and one of them was to make sure the watch was set properly. So I took it out of my bag to set it, only to see that it was already set. But even beyond that, it can actually set itself anywhere in the world thanks to GPS. If you need it updated, just take it outside, sync it up, and you're good. And if for some reason you don't want any of that, for instance, I was on a cruise with it and I wanted it set to the ship time, regardless of where I actually was, I was able to turn off that auto update and set it manually. this thing is actually amazingly customizable. Anyway, love this thing, and really the only downside is battery life, and that's something all fitness and smartwatches share. But the Instinct is actually one of the best, and that's why I bought it. At full charge, it has 28 days of battery life. And if you turn on the GPS, for every hour it's on, it only eats a day of that. And that's not even counting the solar charging feature of this version, which extends all of that out. Bottom line, you can easily travel and train with this and not have to bring a charger with you. So again, love this thing, and it may hurt my credit as a watch geek, but I've actually probably worn this more than any other watch over the last year, and I'm completely satisfied with that. Anyway, that's the travel collection template, and I think if you bring one watch from each of these categories, it does create a very versatile collection. So next time you're going somewhere, you could use this and just fill in all your favorites. Or if you're not going to do that, then hopefully just listening to me talk about this has helped you make some decisions on what you want to bring. For me, for next week, it's going to be the Strat-o-Timer, the Triumph, and the Garmin Instinct. With those three, I should be good for just about anything. As usual, let me know your thoughts down below, as well as what are your go-to travel watches. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, you guys know what to do down below. I'm Shane, this is Strat-o-Timer, and I'll see you next time.